There were titties in that film, Trent. So I almost got in a fist fight at KFC the other day.
You know,
And
that's I was thinking all day. I was like, how is Zed gonna fuck up his intro this time?
but so I was at KFC, right?
Okay, we're going right into the story. Let's hear it. You were
And
at KFC.
It's the first of the month, and half of the workers called in because of it.
Do you want to explain to our viewers what the first of the month means? Because I know what it means, but others may not.
The first of the month is whenever all the welfare checks come in. So
Which is usually not like a big thing, but Appalachia is well known for rampant welfare fraud. Everybody's kind of just living off of it when they don't need to.
Yeah, so we're I was standing there in line for like 30 minutes, and for 30 minutes I listened to this 50-year-old woman behind me sigh and cry and whine and complain.
About what? About waiting in line at KFC?
Yes.
Okay.
So 30 minutes in, and I'm sitting there with my crew from work. I turned around and I said...
With the boys.
With the boys.
Out for some herbs and spices with the boys.
I turned around and I said, you know, if you're unhappy, you can always go someplace else.
Fair
and
enough.
you could hear a pin drop. Because nobody expected that.
Yeah.
So when I turned around, she goes, oh my God, did you hear the way he talked to me? He's lucky my husband wasn't here, because he would have taken him around the corner and shown him what's for. So I stood there thinking to myself, so am I going to get taken around the corner? So I went to get my pink lemonade.
My gun.
And I turned around, and her husband was standing there. And she was whispering to him and pointing at me. I stood there, straight as an arrow, looked him in the eye, he looked me in the eye, and we just stood there for 15 seconds, roughly. And then he just shook his head and sat down. Anyway, this is the movie episode. We're going to be talking about our favorite movies.
Okay, let's take a look at the audio here. We are 2 minutes and 20 seconds in.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I knew you were gonna. You said you wanted to tell the KFC story, but I didn't think you were gonna like immediately open with it. Like,
yeah.
This show is called ClapTrap. Welcome to ClapTrap.
Yeah. So that's our longest intro yet.
Does that count as an intro? I think that counts as you just skipping the intro and doing something else.
I thought to myself, how funny would it be if I used the KFC story as an intro?
I guess we'll find out. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know how dumb that intro was in the comments below. But
that intro was
this week's topic is movies. More specifically, I think you said our favorite films.
Yes, our favorite films. And I've got me a little master list of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17 movies.
I did not make a list.
Yes.
Because I've got like a general idea, and also I'm kind of a pretentious loser insofar as I don't like the idea of picking favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much stuff out there to like. Like, I don't even have a favorite color.
Oh wow, mine's blue.
Oh,
no, purple.
Everybody's is blue, you basic bitch.
Mine's purple. Different varying shades of blue and purple.
Purple's a good color, but I just like all the colors, and I like a lot of movies, and I'm like, why? I like different movies for different things, so I can't boil it down to like what's my number one, but I'll list off a few that I like quite well. Since you've got such a long list to go through, I'll let you start talking about one.
Okay, so the first one on my list you watched yesterday, and it's Wizards. So
Wizards.
What did you think of Wizards? And I'd like to talk about that ending.
Wizards has been on my list for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never got around to watching it. And I decided, I knew you were bringing it to the table today, so I was like, okay, I gotta watch it now. Now's a good time to do it so that we can talk about it tomorrow. So I sat down to watch Wizards. And, it's on YouTube. You can rent it on YouTube for $3. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they wouldn't have it because it's kind of obscure, but... So this is an animated movie from the 70s by Ralph Bakshi, the guy who did the animated Lord of the Rings.
Or Fritz the Cat for all you furries out there.
Oh, was that Bakshi?
Yes.
Oh shit. Okay. Fuck. So, okay. I thought Wizards was just okay.
Really? You didn't
Yeah.
think it was great?
No. I took some notes. I didn't write down a lot because I just didn't really think there was much to say about it. The story was, I mean, it was kind of exceedingly simple. I liked the aesthetic of it, and I liked the whole idea of, kind of this just from the 70s D&D era fantasy looking shit. It was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was a neat aesthetic. But the story was simple. It's, oh, my brother's evil. Let's go kill my evil brother or whatever. There was, there was an anti-war and kind of an environmentalist message going on there. But I'll tell you, okay, one of the footnotes I wrote down here was impressive for its time, not impressive on the whole. Because it was just kind of a simple little story. Narratively, that's fine. Tell a simple story. The delivery was awkward, and a lot of that can be chalked up to, low budget and all this. And I think it's impressive that Ralph Bakshi was able to make something like this in the 70s, like a cartoon that is weird like this and not for babies. I think that's really cool. But it just wasn't a masterpiece. It just was really awkward most of the time, and its delivery was weak.
Okay, so like you said, this is from the 70s. So this was before a lot of fantasy cliches were cemented.
Yeah.
And there was sort of a meta for what a good high fantasy film was.
Yeah.
So I think for the time, like the story is post-nuclear apocalypse, fantasy stuff came back. So it was basically Adventure Time. So high fantasy came back.
Oh my god, I didn't
underground.
even make that. I didn't even make that connection. It was 100% Adventure Time, wasn't it?
Yep. It was Adventure Time, and
Wow.
the Queen of the Fairies had twins. One of them was an evil wizard, and one of them was a good wizard. Pure yin and yang. And the evil wizard moved off to the nuclear wastes with the mutated humans, who are basically like goblins and orcs.
It's worth noting the evil wizard himself was a mutant.
Yes. And the good wizard Avatar lived in the land of the Fae. And they had banned all technology and science and lived completely off magic and vice versa. And they were at war, constant war with that. So I think right now it should be worth noting that in this podcast, major spoilers for all the films.
Oh yeah, every time we bring up a title, expect to get spoiled for it. If you hear us say the name of a movie and you don't want spoilers, that's your chance to click away.
Yes.
This is your one and only warning.
So, some really interesting fun facts is that, or one really interesting fun fact is the blonde fairy in the Fey Woods. That was Mark Hamill's voice acting debut. Fact check me on that.
Oh,
but that
what,
was Mark Hamill.
The little one that presented the feast after they fucked with him?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't really pay attention. I guess
I don't know.
could be Mark
That's a
Hamill.
fun-
He sounded a lot different when he was younger.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know. I just feel like for its time, it was a masterpiece.
That's, yeah, like I said, impressive for its time, not impressive on the whole is the only thing. Because I know animation is awkward, especially back when they were doing physical animation and you had to like arrange the cells and cut film and all this. It was just harder to get it perfect. But there were movies at the time that had, even animated movies that had pretty impressive cinematography. And that was just really lacking here. I think cinematography obviously is very important in cinema. Just shot composition and all this. It's like I get the ideas behind Wizards, and I was able to parse what it was trying to communicate. But I could see how other people could struggle with that because it was not really great at communicating itself super clearly through its cinematography.
The film is a product of its budget, like most.
And I'm
like
sure that
most of
budget was
Bakshi's films.
astronomically low.
Yes, like rotoscoping. Do you mind explaining rotoscoping? Because I'm sure you can better than I.
Yeah, so rotoscoping is it's a way of animating in a cartoon where you basically just take film, like live action film, and you kind of draw over top of the individual film reels and turn that into animation. And what Ralph Bakshi did in this is he took a lot of just like war footage because it's like the bad guys, this is post-apocalyptic fantasy. So these orcs and goblins come back and they find a bunch of Nazi weaponry and Nazi propaganda and just actually become Nazis. So what they did in this film was, yeah, they took footage from World War II just of Nazis being Nazis and doing war, and basically he just drew horns on top of them.
Yeah, I know.
He just colored in the shadows and then drew on horns and angry demon faces. It was pretty great, honestly. It was. Bailey watched it with me, and she's, she went to school for animation, so we got a real chuckle out of those moments. But
yeah,
one comment she made was like how sometimes the animation was rather like impressive, and then sometimes it looked like the worst dog shit you've ever seen. She was like, I just want to take the best shot from this movie and the worst shot from this movie, put them side by side, and try to convince somebody they're from the same film.
One thing Bakshi would always do that always really impressed me is he would take live footage of, the real world, and put animated characters in it. He did that in a time where it just wasn't that popular to do. The only example of that I could think of right off hands is like Mary Poppins, from that time.
God, I haven't watched Mary Poppins since I was young, like too young to even like remember it.
Yeah, I remember that particular part because I was always really impressed with it as a child.
Yeah,
but it's still not a very popular thing done today. But he did it, in my humble opinion, he did it the best.
Again, in Wizards, I would say it could be done so much better, because it kind of just looked like you turned up the contrast super high on it or something. Like, it was hard to make out individual shapes sometimes if it wasn't like a super close up. Like, just the shadows were colored in. It was very just giving you like the impression of shape, which is cool. I think it's a really neat look, but it kind of stood out in pretty stark contrast to regular animation. Like, whenever it was going back and forth, you could tell like this wasn't the same thing, and it kind of takes you out of the experience a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he used it to great effect. Like, saved quite a bit of money, I think, probably. Just
yeah.
It seems like the rotoscoping was pretty much reserved for like huge battle scenes.
Yes.
Where it's difficult to draw 10,000 characters. So you just get a bunch of extras, put them on horses, take a quick video, and then rotoscope that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, God, I've only seen clips of his Lord of the Rings movie. But, I know he definitely used it for the battles in that, because there are big battles in Lord of the Rings. And,
yeah,
he
did.
I think it was probably a good idea to do it that way.
Yeah, for the sake of the sanity of the artists on the budget that they had, I think that was probably the best option.
Yeah.
So, I think it's worth mentioning the ending. So, when Avatar finally faced off against his brother, what's your opinion of that? Because that just sort of cemented the film's greatness in my eyes.
Cemented its greatness. It kind of came at me out of left field. I think I was getting bored at the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really looking. I think I was pretty drunk by this point.
Okay.
Not like too drunk to like know what's going on, but like just kind of like whatever. I might have looked at my phone. So Avatar, the Good Wizard, is like built up to be kind of like pacifistic.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the whole movie, he like tries to avoid violence, and at one point punches a guy in the face for intending to fight back against the enemy, which there are so many like levels of like weirdness there. The guy's like, oh, the fairies and the elves were all like coming together to defend ourselves against the goblin Nazis, and Avatar punches him in the face because violence is wrong. And then, he's real tore up, and then, like, he finally faces off against his brother, and you think they're about to have, like, a big magic showdown, and then Avatar pulls out a handgun and shoots him.
A German Luger, no less.
Yeah. So, was that supposed to be saying something? Because it just pretty much came out of left field and, like, didn't make any sense.
Makes sense to me.
Why don't you explain it then?
Well, think about it. Avatar's had dozens of magical battles with his brother, each one equally matched. He was fed up. He looked at his brother and said, "You know what? You are too evil to exist in this world. If we have a magical duel, it'll just happen again and again and again. I'm just going to shoot you. Just be done with it."
I mean, that's a fair conclusion to come to.
Mm-hmm.
But the film did not build up to Avatar changing his mind about, like, not wanting to kill. Like, he didn't want to kill anybody. He didn't want anybody to die, right? The whole time. And then it's just like, there was no slow transition where he sees things that maybe start to change his mind. He just gets there and is like, I have a gun and now you are going to die.
Well, like, what I liked about it, though, is by killing off his brother, he saved all the lives. The goblins and the orcs aren't going to be at war anymore.
Right.
The fairies will no longer have bounty hunters going after them, or not assassins going after them. With a single bullet, he was able to bring peace to the two worlds.
That's true, but
so
he didn't seem to think that way the whole time, and then suddenly he did without any transition. And then the film doesn't, like, explain his reasoning at all, neither through dialogue or, symbolism. It just wasn't communicated well, if that's the idea.
Oh, I thought it was great. Like, he basically, like, he said, "Don't go to war. I'll face my brother alone.
Okay.
You don't have to fight and kill each other. I'm going to take care of this. You don't have to do this," because he already knew what was going to happen because he's Avatar the Wise.
Oh,
he knows exactly what's going to happen.
He from the beginning was planning on killing his brother.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't want anybody else to get killed in the process.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair. Explains a little bit, but also, did he say that in the beginning?
I can't remember. I've seen the movie 4 or 5 times, but it's been a hot minute.
I can't either. On the whole, I'm glad I watched it. I feel like it enriched my life a little bit. It would be interesting to give Ralph Bakshi $1 million today and see what he could do with it if he's still alive.
He is.
Okay, cool. Let's give him $1 million. Start a GoFundMe for Wizards 2.
Yeah, he's been trying to do that for a long time, but
Has he really?
Yeah, he's just never gotten it off the ground.
That sucks.
He wanted to take the Avatar, and I can't remember the princess's name, but the fairy princess.
Eleanor,
Avatar and Eleanor. Have them on an adventure.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked a lot of the character designs in the movie, though, simple as they were. Mm-hmm. I was kind of thinking about doing fan art of it.
Really?
Yeah.
It grows on you.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, as a narrative experience, I felt it was lacking in a lot of ways, but aesthetically, it's just the Adventure Time of the 70s, like you said. I think that's super dope. So.
Yeah. So, are you going to give it another watch?
Probably at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But, I probably won't pay close attention to it because now I know there's not that much to digest.
It's one of my top 5, easily.
Well, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I think it's highly because it fits into your aesthetic.
Yeah, it's a very me movie.
Yeah.
So, I guess we've exhausted Wizards. What's your next film? What's your film?
So I watched 2 movies last night. I meant to spend all day watching movies, but I spent the day doing nothing instead and just looking at my phone and laying on the couch and, like, staring at walls.
Yes.
And then at like 10 o'clock, I was like, okay, it's time to watch movies. And so I had time to watch two. And those were Wizards and Inglorious Bastards. Not the original Inglorious Bastards, which I didn't know existed last night until I tried to find the newer one online.
This is news to me.
Yeah. So the Quentin Tarantino movie I'm referring to is Inglorious Bastards with an E. Mm-hmm. And apparently there was an older war movie called Inglorious Bastards with an A.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen, and I started to watch by accident, thinking it was the Tarantino movie.
Like, I'd never even noticed the spelling before.
Oh, you didn't know it was spelled wrong?
Yeah, no, I'd never noticed it.
Yeah, Bastards is spelled wrong in the Tarantino movie. And I think that's because, the bastards in the movie are kind of supposed to be simple boys in a way.
Yeah.
So, I'm a fan of Tarantino. I haven't seen all his movies. I haven't even seen what some would say are like the best ones. Like, for some reason, I've never gotten around to watching Pulp Fiction.
It's fun. That's a fun movie. It's very fun.
Excuse me. Seems like a fun movie, but
yeah,
I've seen Django, which I liked a lot, but it's been a couple years, so I can't remember that well. I think it was pretty good though. And I've seen Kill Bill. Obviously, I've seen both the Kill Bill movies, and those are up there for me for the same reason Wizards is probably up there for you, because Kill Bill has an aesthetic I like a lot.
Yes.
But I think my favorite Tarantino movie is probably Inglourious Bastards, because while Kill Bill fits my aesthetic more, and just like I like the weird flip around anime action translated into live action cinematography in just like this super memey way. I think Inglourious Bastards is just a better narrative on the whole.
Really?
And
I
yeah,
felt like it was like 30 minutes too short.
No,
I felt like
I think it was perfectly well paced. I thought the pacing was perfect. Everything was great.
I watched it and I felt disappointed. Like it didn't feel like it didn't feel like a fully realized project to me.
Well, I mean, what could have possibly been different?
I don't know. Like you didn't. It's like, here's the bastards. Here's them doing one thing. Here's 3 or 4 more narratives, which is Tarantino style. I expected that, and then it's like, oh, the bastards are all dead now. And it's
not all of them. They did accomplish their mission. Spoilers.
Yeah. And then like
in a very cool way, I thought, because a lot of World War II movies I like. Okay, I don't like that World War II happened. I don't like that Jews died, 60 million Jews. But like, I don't know. It's a cool aesthetic. The World War II era and what was going on in the world is a cool, like, it's modern legend, it's so monumental. And the aesthetic is neat. So I like World War II movies. And a lot of them are like self-contained stories that are like, okay, so we're not rewriting the history. This is just something that could have happened inside of this monumental war. And when Inglourious Basterds starts out, you think, okay, this could be kind of the same thing. But by the end of it, it does go into alternate history territory, and they end the war in a different way than what happened in real life.
Yeah.
So that
what
was
happened
cool.
in real life
was
was really tragic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
The Holocaust, that was pretty tragic.
No, I mean, like, the way the war, like, officially ended. Well, I guess the Japanese Holocaust with the 2 atom bombs dropping. Because, that was the official end of World War II. So the way it ended was pretty fucked up.
Was it the official end?
Yeah.
Which came first, the bombing of Japan or Hitler's death?
Hitler's death happened, but then Japan kept on fighting.
Okay,
then they just nuked the hell out of them.
That's what I thought. So, yeah.
Like, if Hitler's suicide is what ended World War II, that would have been just a good end to the war, but the Japanese kept on fighting, so.
Yeah. Rest in peace. But yeah, I liked Inglourious. Okay, so my complaint with Wizards is that it did not communicate itself with skilled cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what Inglourious Bastards does that makes me love it so much. So there's a lot to pick apart there. It's you know, a lot of movies you can put on and just kind of be paying attention and like get it. And Tarantino demands that you be paying attention to what's going on or you're going to miss something.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that a lot. And every shot is meaningful. Every, the actors, he works with a lot of the same actors, in a lot of his
Mm-hmm.
movies because he's found the ones that he knows can communicate his ideas right.
Yeah.
And so like just the way he communicates things through visuals is very good, through dialogue as well most of the time. And there are no dumb characters. Everybody in a Tarantino movie feels fully like a fleshed out person to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah, he's
there's a lot of back
dialogue.
and yeah, and there's a lot of back and forth of intellect. Like everybody has a good head on their shoulders and doesn't just get like fucked because they were not the smart guy who is important. There really aren't extras, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna fucking say? Oh yeah, and I like it as well because it doesn't try to not be a movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't try to make you feel like you're not watching a movie. So
Yeah, it's very.
I came up with this allegory last night, and it's very pretentious sounding, probably. So bear with me. But I remember in school learning about like art history. That was a class I liked a lot. And there was a period of hyper realism. Hyper realistic oil paintings were the only things that were considered art, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's I really liked the impressionistic period, and like the highbrow artist people were like impressionistic paintings are not like fucking art, and like one of the key points is like because you can see the brush strokes. It's not skillful because you can see how the artist did this, and it's not like you're looking at a real life image. Hyperrealism is always boring to me in art because while it's the skill that is required to create hyper realistic art is very palpable and worth respecting.
I consider
But
it the virtuosity of visual art.
really,
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean by virtuosity? Like,
So like like a virtuoso in music.
no,
Okay, a person who's
is it like an elitist?
no, it's just like the best of the best. You're a true master.
Okay, so that's what
Like,
you can, I guess, but nah, I don't agree with that.
I guess. I mean,
It's because it takes a lot of skill to make hyper realistic art, but there's a clear guideline for it. The real world is here, and you can pick it apart and study it and figure out how it works. But I enjoy seeing more impressionistic stuff or stylized stuff, something that takes what is already there and gives it something that wasn't. That skillfully
mm-hmm.
communicates ideas, shapes, colors, and all that in a new way, in something I haven't
Yeah.
seen before. If I want to see something hyper realistic, I'll look at real life. I can appreciate that you've made this thing and it took a long time, but generally, why would I want to look at it for more than a minute if I can't tell what your process was or what you're trying to communicate? If it's just like a picture, if you just drew something that is already real, I would just rather look at that thing. Whereas, impressionistic stuff is more interesting to me. So the comparison I was going to make, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but so they said it's not real art or whatever because you can see the brush strokes. And I feel like that's the way in a lot of movies. There's still cinematography, but they try to, I don't know. They don't let it have the trappings of a movie. They want you to think you're there or something. And Tarantino shows his brush strokes in his cinematography, and like he's like, this is a movie. It's got chapters and acts or whatever, and you're supposed to know it's a movie, and you're supposed to take it as that. And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And it really like heightens my enjoyment of it, seeing like how everything is laid out and how it comes together to create this thing.
Okay, cool. If you like stories like that like every character feels intelligent, the story feels super fleshed out, everything gets resolved, and it's just a perfect, complete package, you would really love The Godfather.
I've been meaning to watch The Godfather forever, but it feels like I don't know, a big undertaking, I guess. Like I would have to dedicate a whole evening to just like being ready for watching it.
It's like 3 or 4 hours, and you want to stay sober for the full thing.
Gotcha.
It's the first movie I've ever watched where I sat down and said, I have no complaints. I have no criticisms. I have no curiosities. I feel like this was a complete and perfect experience. So much so that I've not even bothered watching the sequels yet.
That's cool.
Because I don't want that sort of feeling to get lost on me.
Yeah, sometimes sequels are just wholly unnecessary and completely ruin your initial experience. I don't know if that's the case with The Godfather, but that's the case with a lot of series that I've loved.
Unless it's Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 kicked ass.
Spider-Man 2 was pretty good, but I mean, Spider-Man 3 kind of ruined it for a lot of people, didn't it?
That's the thing. That goes back to fad thought for me. Because I never knew that Spider-Man 3 was a quote-unquote bad movie until I got access to the internet. I thought it was fucking great.
I think Spider-Man 3, it's trendy to say it's worse than it is. Like a lot of things, like fucking Nickelback or Sword Art Online. It's just become such a meme to shit on it that, that's what people do. Even though, there's stuff going on there. The whole, it's because of the whole emo Peter Parker phase, right?
Well, like, I make the argument...
while that was cringy, like, wasn't that the idea? Like, I never once got that the director was trying to convey that this was supposed to be serious. I always understood it as, this is cringy because, of course, Peter Parker is a nerd and doesn't know how to be a cool guy. He just feels like he is now.
That's exactly been my argument. Peter Parker, as a person, the spastic bastard, if Peter Parker thought he was hot shit, that's how Peter Parker would act.
Right. And
because Peter Parker doesn't gain true confidence until he puts on the mask.
Right. And that's always been the, like, duality, disassociation thing going on with him, has been that, like, he puts on the mask and suddenly he's pulling out all these one-liners,
Mm-hmm.
So,
like, the only complaint with Spider-Man 3 I've ever had is I felt like the guy that cast as Eddie Brock was way too puny.
Too puny?
Mm-hmm. Eddie Brock's always been a big fellow.
Yeah, I guess so. But it was cool seeing Eric Foreman from that 70s show become a villain.
Yeah, that seriously, for like 10 plus years, that's the only thing I thought was wrong with that movie until the internet said, Andrew, you should think this way. But whatever. What's next?
I mean, we could talk about Spider-Man 3 some more. Like, honestly, yeah, I think it's not as bad as it gets a rap for. Like, if we want to make a case to defend it right now, let's do it. Let's change the world.
It's time to defend Spider-Man 3, and I'm willing to go up to bat for it. It was.
I haven't seen it in a few years. I've seen it a couple times, but it's been a few years. So as far as like what I was saying earlier about cinematography, well conveying the ideas that are meant to be presented, I'm not sure if it did that. Like as skillfully as it could have. I would have to rewatch it and dissect all that. But
it's on Netflix.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll rewatch it then. But yeah, there was one shot that really bothered me. The shot where a truck passes in front of the cafe when Peter looks back at Harry, and then Harry is gone.
Oh yeah, it's got a bunch of micro mistakes. Like somebody recently told me that they're swinging in one direction and their hair's going another. There's a lot to it that.
Well, that's just like an editing mistake almost.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like a deliberate choice that like, oh, the truck passes and then he's gone from the cafe. Like, where did he... The only explanation is that he ducked under the table really quick, which is just hilarious.
Donkey. I watched that video too.
Was that in the donkey video?
Yeah.
Shit. I might have subconsciously stolen that joke from him.
Yes.
Sorry, Donkey. I love you.
He doesn't know who we are.
Let's get Donkey on the podcast.
He wouldn't respond.
Nah, dude. Let's email Donkey. I'm gonna do that immediately after this. But Spider-Man 3 was not as bad as you think it is. Rewatch it with an open mind. If you've gotten swept up in the Spider-Man 3 is the worst movie ever meme. And listen to Nickelback while you watch it.
Isn't Nickelback in Spider-Man 3?
What?
Nickelback is in one of the Spider-Man movies.
No, you're full of shit.
Yeah, the amazing.
No, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
As what? Like extras, or were they playing?
One of their songs was in it.
Oh, one of those. Fuck, I don't know.
I think it. I'm pulling this IMDb up right now.
Okay.
Okay, so soundtrack. Google.
I wonder how many people click away when we start Googling things.
Probably a lot. I think.
We did so much Googling
guess,
in the last episode.
I think that's. To me, you gotta Google some stuff because I don't want to sit here and ignorantly say things.
Right, but like I don't know, it just breaks the flow of conversation.
It does, sadly, and I know I'm bad for it.
Yeah.
So I guess I was wrong. I'm not seeing it. They were, however, in Daredevil and The Punisher.
Oh, fuck. I haven't seen Daredevil since I was a kid. I don't remember liking it that much though.
I've not seen it.
So okay, you had a complaint with Eddie Brock being cast as Topher Grace. What do you think of Tom Hardy as Venom? Is that the Eddie Brock Venom?
Yeah.
Or is that a different Venom? I don't know.
I think he's Eddie Brock. I think he's Eddie Brock. Yeah, I've not seen it yet. I know
I've heard
critics,
it's gotten like horrible reviews.
Like, from what I can tell, critics hate it, but the people who aren't critics like it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so something that bothers the shit out of me in today's day and age, we consider critics to be like the end-all, be-all, final thing.
Well, no, we don't. No, we don't.
A lot of people do.
No, we have significantly moved away from that in recent years, I think.
But like, there's
I think a lot of people are looking for opinions from Jane Doe online or John Doe. Just
yep.
I think we're definitely because YouTube reviews. I think a lot of people. That's where I go, and that's where a lot of people I know go. They don't nobody fucking reads reviews from magazines. I guess
still people looking for someone else's opinion before making up their own.
Okay, that's a fair point.
And to me, like, you should never decide whether or not you're going to do something based on somebody else's opinion of that thing. You should do it because you want to or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I got into critics and analysis online, years ago. When I was like a teenager, because I am a creator.
Yes.
And all the things I made were bad, basically. And I would make something, I would put it online, and it would suck. And
even though there's fan fiction of your Flipnote series.
Yeah, never mention that in a public sphere again. Thank you.
Okay.
But fucking. I actually got in contact with that guy. He's pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah. But shout out to Diff. But fucking what was I saying? You made me lose my train of thought. Okay. Yeah, everything I made sucked, and people, I'd put it online, and people would be like, "Hey Trent, this is fucking dog shit," and I'd be like, "Oh no," and I'd just get really sad, and then I'd try to make something again a year later, and people would be like, "Trent, this is dog shit, but like a little bit better maybe, but it's still dog shit." So I got into like criticism, like watching and listening to and reading critiques of things online because I wanted to figure out what makes something dog shit so that I could make my own creations better I use it as a way to try to better understand how media is constructed. But of course, always, like you said, come away from that. Don't listen to a review or criticism and and just believe everything you hear, because that's no better than just going to the movie and believing you should like it.
Yes.
You know, always try to walk away with your own opinions. If you need to watch a review to like try to parse your thoughts that you can't quite process yourself, that's fine. But, you know, be aware and try to form your own opinions.
Yes, exercise your critical thinking skills.
Exercise your critical thinking skills, but it's okay to need help with that, is what I'm advocating for.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
there's a middle ground for everything. I definitely ascribe to the belief that, you know, there's always a middle ground. You need a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So, I'd like to sloppily segue into the next film.
Okay.
Because I have a master list. So.
Oh right. We better get moving if we want to get all the way through your list.
I've made peace with the fact that we're not going to talk about all of them.
So why don't you put a star next to the ones you really want to talk about?
Black Sheep is next.
Please get that DVD out of my fucking house.
He's had it for about 8 years now. I let him borrow it, and I want him to watch it so we can talk about it, because it's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
I keep trying to return it to him because I just have no interest in watching it. I look at the DVD case and I'm like, this looks like a shit fucking movie.
It's so funny.
It's probably not. You're probably nostalgia blind, and at this point I'm just not going to watch it for the meme. Just because you've been trying to get me to watch it and you won't let me return this DVD to you for 8 years. I am just never going to do it.
But it's so good. It's so fun. It's about this guy who's running for governor in the state of California, and his brother's Chris Farley. And Chris is trying so hard to advocate or to campaign for his brother, but everything he does is a fuck up. So they send in a young David Spade. Is that his name? Chris Farley and David Spade. Yeah. They send him in, and yeah, David Spade. So they send him in, and they go off to a cabin together, and they just go on these hilarious misadventures, and it's like all slapsticky.
Isn't this just Tommy Boy?
Yeah.
I've seen Tommy Boy.
It's if you like Tommy Boy, you'll like Black Sheep.
Tommy Boy was okay.
Black Sheep is good. So, yeah, you should watch Black Sheep.
No. Thank you. Next movie.
The Hobbit, the Rankin Bass Hobbit.
The what?
The Hobbit from Rankin Bass.
Rankin Bass?
Yeah, the cartoon producers behind The Hobbit and...
Oh, okay. I saw The Hobbit on your list, and I'm like, he's not talking about the Peter Jackson Hobbit, is he?
No, of course not.
Okay. Good. So tell us about the cartoon Hobbit, because again, I've only seen clips from that one. But
you've not seen the... Cool. I could have swore you had came to me one time and told me you had seen it.
No. I haven't seen it all the way through. I've watched parts of it.
Okay, so it's basically a condensed version of the Peter Jackson trilogy.
Yeah.
They took all...
Condensed as it should be, because The Hobbit was one book.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels more complete than the Peter Jackson trilogy. Like, it just has... Linear, that's the word. It feels linear. There wasn't a bunch of side bullshit going on.
Well, the problem with the Peter Jackson trilogy is that, you know... Okay, there is enough in The Hobbit, the book, the source material, that I could say that you could extend it into a trilogy if you kept the movies kind of short. But I don't know. He just decided to add a bunch of shit to try to like stretch it out more when it didn't need it. Because they wanted to make 3 movies because they wanted to follow up their ever famous Lord of the Rings trilogy and, you know, bring people to the box office. But he just added a bunch of shit that just wasn't there and didn't really fit.
2 movies at best, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
2 movies at best.
I would say 3, but they would have to be like short. 3 hour-and-a-half long movies.
Yes.
But that just wasn't in the spirit of Peter Jackson's legacy. And it was just so weird. I genuinely enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But just... I don't know. It felt like he was trying to recreate that, and it just didn't fucking work. Because, of course it doesn't. That never does.
No, I feel like the cartoon works, though. Like, it's been so long, I'm trying to muster up. So, like, it starts out, you know, it briefly introducts what the hobbits are and who Bilbo is.
As Gandalf the book does, yeah.
Yeah. Gandalf appears out of fucking nowhere and says, I'm a wizard and we're going on an adventure, you know?
Oh,
And
that's
then
basically how you and me met.
yeah. And then introduce the dwarfs. Bilbo shuts the door and says nope. And then it's just like the movie to that regard, but instead of being a 40-minute ordeal, it's a 10-minute ordeal.
Yeah, I think the beginning of Peter Jackson's Hobbit was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like
liked the way it started. It was true to the book, but modernized, I guess, but not in a bad way. And it just felt very ambient.
Yeah.
And then the farther the trilogy goes, the more of a just all over the place clusterfuck it becomes.
Yeah, like some of the plot points in the cartoon that are worth mentioning is the goblins underground, the wood elves, Elrond, Rivendell, the three trolls.
The three trolls, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the taking, the confrontation with I can't remember the Smog, which in the cartoon is Smog instead of Smaug, which got on my nerves all to hell. In the
Isn't
new
it
one,
pronounced Smaug?
It sounds stupid. It sounds like a poetic brick to the face. So,
Okay.
in the cartoon, it's called Smog.
I mean,
and
that's the way I heard it in my head when I was reading the book. But I could
Really?
see Tolkien being like, "This is Smaug," and I'm like,
Ugh.
"Oh, okay." I don't know. Maybe they did some research and were like, "Oh, because he's based on Celtic, it would be pronounced Smaug."
Fair enough. That's fair. Then, of course, there's the scene with Gollum and the Battle of the Three Armies at the end, which they showed just enough violence for it to be satisfactory. And I felt like it was just a really good hour-and-a-half complete experience of the story. And
The Battle
it's
of the
been one of
Five
my-
Armies actually went by pretty quick in the book,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm remembering correctly. It's probably been a couple of years since I've read it, but yeah,
I've not,
I felt
sadly.
like the Hobbit, the book. You've not read it?
I hate to admit it, but I don't like his writing style.
I feel like we've talked about this before, and I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
I think we even talked about this on ClapTrap, but it's you have to read Tolkien with a different mindset than you would any other fictitious book.
mm-hmm.
You have to read Tolkien like you're reading deep lore, like you're reading a Stephen King novel is not the same mindset you're in when you're like researching, like when you're reading Wikipedia articles on the Elder Scrolls in the middle of the night.
Yes.
That's how you should approach Tolkien, with that mindset. You should be like, I'm reading the history of Middle Earth. I'm not reading a conventional narrative.
Yeah. Like, The Hobbit was more a conventional narrative than The Lord of the Rings, but I've just not finished it.
Yeah, which makes it easier to finish. Like you can get through it pretty easily.
Yeah, I need to sit down and reread it, though.
Yeah, it's
But-
very compact compared to the Lord of the Rings.
It felt like that was his... If The Hobbit, to me, it felt like he was testing the waters to see if people like this world. And then when he found
that's
out...
exactly what he was doing. That's confirmed history.
And then, like, he's like, oh, they have an interest in this? Here's a massive stack of papers on everything
Didn't I say this on ClapTrap? I'm pretty sure I did at some point.
You might have.
Yeah, so Tolkien did all his world building, and just as like a thing to do, because like he's a fucking history and language nerd, and that's awesome. And he's just like, I'm gonna write my own fucking world, and he's like one of the first guys to like do that in such a like extensive way.
Yeah, it's...
And like he was a professor at Oxford University. He was a professor of Anglo-Saxon. And like one of his coworkers or fellow fucking scholars there or whatever, like came to know about his world building books, got permission to like read a little bit of it, and was like, yo, John, you should definitely write a book. And he was like, I don't know. I'll do a children's book and see if people like it. And if they do, then I'll write my real thing. And that's exactly what happened. The Silmarillion was not released until his death, actually.
I've not...
It's just a collection of source material that was gathered by his son, Christopher Tolkien, and edited together in a way that flows nicely.
Nice. So, till this day, when I want to experience The Lord of the Rings, I'll watch the cartoon Hobbit and then the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings films. And to me, that is my idea of a perfect Lord of the Rings experience.
You know what? That sounds like it honestly wouldn't be too much of a separation, I guess, because yeah, I can see that. I like that.
Yeah, it's just how I enjoy it, because I've seen the Lord of the Rings films, God, 3 or 4 times each, respectively. Probably more than that, including catching the ends on television, if you want to count that.
Yeah.
And I've probably seen the Hobbit film 5 or 6 times, just because I enjoy it. It's just a complete story in that world that you can sit down and enjoy an evening of, and it's never failed to entertain me. The music's great. Oh, the music, fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
Which,
I feel like I saw it in a clip of one of the songs, and it was kind of just like folk music or something.
The Greatest Adventure is the highlight, in my opinion, which I'm just
Yeah.
going to go ahead and send that to you, because it's just so fucking good.
Okay, I'll listen to it after we get done recording.
Of course.
Yeah. Cool. Tolkien is good.
Yeah. So is there another movie you want to talk about?
Let's see. If we've moved into the sphere of animation, maybe. So, I'm trying to think. I mostly consume, animation, mostly anime in series form, but as for films, obviously Ghibli is way up there. Most of Hayao Miyazaki's work is pretty artful and fantastic. Let's see. I haven't seen all the Ghibli films, but
I've
Ponyo,
not either.
Ponyo is a really good one. I like Ponyo a lot.
Not seen Ponyo.
Ponyo is good. It's a super feel-good movie with great animation. Liam Neeson's in it.
Yes! You could put that man in anything and it just becomes a little bit better. Yeah. I swear, he was 10% of the Metacritic score on Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah. Ponyo is definitely worth a watch. It's a very feel-good movie, just an absolute spectacle as well of animation and art. The color direction in that movie is some of the strongest shit I've ever seen. I can send you a video about it.
I'd rather just watch the film, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to do a binge of Ghibli films. Like, I'm looking at a master list right now, and I've only seen Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, and Kiki.
Kiki was alright. I liked watching Kiki to look at the set pieces, but narratively it was weak.
It's a comfy movie for me.
It's a comfy movie, but Ponyo is way comfier. Have you not seen Spirited Away?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude. A lot of people say that's their favorite, and with good reason. It's pretty good.
I'm on their website, and I'm not seeing Ponyo. Maybe I'm just overlooking it.
I don't know, maybe.
Weird.
I'll find a place where you can watch it.
Yeah, I
You probably want to watch it in HD, though, because, the visuals are such a important part of it. One Ghibli movie I've not seen that I've been meaning to watch forever, that a lot of other people say is their favorite because it's more serious and adult, is Princess Mononoke.
Okay, talk about that.
Well, I've not seen it, but it's God, it shares the same kind of environmentalist message that all Ghibli movies do, I think, but I think it's kind of a war story. Something about humans and nature spirits learning to live together, and things get violent, and there's apparently a lot of blood and fighting in that movie.
Yeah.
Here's another animated movie that is an anime movie that I liked and kind of didn't like. Oh god, yeah, that's another Digibro thing. But it was Sword of the Stranger. Was a nice animation movie about some samurai, and it was kind of boring, and the narrative was weak, but it had such a great fight scene at the end. Yeah, I think that was a Digipro thing. Oh god, I'm stealing a lot of his videos right now. No, he just said, I'll just tell you what he said. He said, skip the whole movie and just watch the ending.
That's funny.
Yeah, because, that was one of my favorite fight scenes from anything ever. It was very, very good. it should have held a lot of narrative weight because like the guys, I mean, and it did, because the two guys who end up fighting at the end of the movie are like building up this rivalry throughout the whole thing, and then they finally face off at the end. But I don't think you need to watch the film to really understand that, because on the whole the narrative is super weak.
Fair enough. I'll probably never watch it unless you send me a link.
I'll just send you a link to the last scene in the movie.
Yeah, that'll be enough.
Okay. Do you want to move on from animation and talk about something else, or do you have any animated movies you like?
None that I want to talk about. I'm looking over my list and critiquing it a little bit. I'd like to talk about The Time Machine.
The Time
H.G.
Machine?
Yeah, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine.
Oh, okay. Isn't that a book?
It is a book, but it's also a film. I think it's like Grandson made it into a film.
Okay, not familiar with them.
Okay, so in the film, it starts off to what looks to be about mid-19th, early 20th century.
Okay.
And it's a professor who's got himself a girlfriend and all that. And they go out on their little date, and she dies in a mugging.
Perfect.
And that's how the story begins. And
that's how I like my dates to go.
So as the story progresses, you have him working on a time machine so he can go back in time to save her. He eventually builds it, goes back in time, avoids the mugging, and she dies in some other way. And that's what he comes to the conclusion that no matter how many times he goes back, she will die in some way because she was fated to die.
Okay, so there's a lot of like you can't fight predestination stuff going on here.
Yeah, and that's in like the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
So he goes he goes forward in time and to find the answer to why that is. And so like
I went to the end of time, the end of the universe, to confront God and be like, yo, dog, what's up with that?
So he goes to like just different visions of the future, like different, I guess, creative visions of what a future might be.
Okay.
And eventually sees like civilization build itself up, collapse, and he eventually gets to the end of like modern civilization after it collapsed and rebuilding itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the story changes completely. Because he starts out on this quest to find an answer, but he suddenly finds himself wrapped up in a conflict between surface dwellers and these creatures from under the surface. And eventually, at the very end, he gets the answer to which he seeks, and he stays in that time period. But what I liked about it was that the narrative starts out pretty linear for the first 40 minutes of a guy on an adventure to find the answer.
Huh.
But then suddenly life throws him a curveball and the story changes to something else completely.
A lot of people would understandably dislike that in a film, I think.
But to me, that just feels like real life.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. I haven't seen the movie, and I probably won't. But I could like something like that, but I would have to, like, you know, the two distinctly different parts would have to both be great.
Yeah.
And tie into each other in some way, definitely.
Yeah, like they complete each other.
Okay.
Do
you want to go ahead and spoil like how he got the answer he was looking for? Because
I don't remember the answer he was looking for, but like basically the creatures that lived below the surface were like evolved humans, and they had sort of this ring, like this mother brain-esque leader. Which for all you Metroid fans out there, but this mother brain-esque leader who basically had this infinite well of wisdom.
Here's a reference, am I right, gamers?
Right? And he told him, and then he found a new love interest like thousands of years in the future. So...
Did those long-distance relationships never work out?
No. But yeah, that's what happened. It was always it's a comfy movie for me, a feel-good film.
Well, good. I'm glad you had feelings.
Yeah, let's see. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 29%, and Zed Dalen gives it a 96%. Go watch it.
96.
96. It's a great film.
That's a high commendation.
It's good.
So Zed, this master list of yours, are you going in ascending or descending order? Did you list your favorite right off the bat, or are you saving it for the end?
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm sort of looking over it, thinking, what can I actually sit here and talk about, and what's really impacted my life? Mm-hmm. See, at the end, there's, 6 films, and what they have in common is they are family-friendly science fiction adventures from the mid-'80s to mid-'90s
That's fucking gay, dog.
that I grew up on. Let's see. I'm not gonna.
Are those your top 6?
Those are 6 that I watched the hell out of when I was little, and they've not impacted me as a person, but I have such strong nostalgic connections to them.
Nostalgia gay, down with nostalgia.
Let's see. And then I've got films like Amadeus and Crossroads, which is on every music nerd's list, which I'm not even going to talk about those because there's so much content on those.
Oh, Amadeus was cool. I forgot about that.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think we watched it in piano class in school.
Oh, it kicks ass.
I thought it was pretty good, yeah.
Crossroads, it's a movie about a blues guitar player who's looking to sell his soul to the devil and finds an old blues man who had done just that. And at the end, fucking Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, has a guitar battle with Steve Vai for a man's soul, and
that's awesome.
It's guitar geeky goodness.
The Karate Kid went down to Georgia.
Yes. Let's see, what else we got? Surf's Up, one of my favorite cartoons from high school. As cringy as it is.
Movie?
It's the Surfing Penguin movie.
Huh.
Nobody likes it but me, but for some reason I've watched it probably a dozen times.
I remember it being alright.
I don't know, something about it just spoke to me.
It was just like, there were a lot of just kind of simple CG animal movies around that time period.
Yeah, everything was trying to cash in on each other.
Yeah. You know what? Finding Nemo probably started it all.
As it should have. It was amazing.
It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really answer my question, though, which is this a tiered list?
Is that my list? Yeah.
No, is it a tiered list?
No, it's not a tiered list. It's just movies
okay.
I like.
So that was my question from 5 minutes ago that you... I didn't know if you had a greatest movie of all time. I didn't know if these were on levels.
Yeah, my favorite movie is Wizards. I started out with it because you had watched it yesterday.
All right, well, that was my fucking question, so you should have just fucking listened to it and answered it properly, you dick.
No, I took 3 or 4 movies off my list in one go, though.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you could talk about them at greater length if you wanted to.
There's really nothing I can talk about as far as those films are concerned. They're just noteworthy things. Like, I want to do a small segment on the...
we could probably break down how Surf's Up follows the hero's journey. It kind of does, doesn't it? With the fucking... It's got the mentor, it's got the leaving home bit. Wow.
Yeah, let's see.
We should do a whole fucking analytical fucking documentary on how Surf's Up is the perfect hero's journey.
It really is, though.
Huh.
Let's see. Start, call to adventure, meeting a mentor, crossing the threshold, trials and failures, growing with new skills, death and rebirth, revelation, final challenges, atonement, gets gifts, return changed. It really is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he gets the call to the surfing competition, meets the Big Z, fucking gets
trained. Did Big Z die? I think the mentor has to die for it to be complete.
He didn't die. Like, he was...
Would you count him like no longer being able to surf? Would that be the same like amount of loss?
What happened was somebody came along that was better than him, so he faked his death.
Oh, right, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's like before he even becomes a mentor, so that doesn't really count.
No, he didn't.
Like after mentoring the young hero, I think the mentor is supposed to die, and that like completes the hero's growth into a fully fledged person.
Yeah.
Whatever though, it's for the most part perfect hero's journey.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So if you're looking for a
good hero's journey with penguins and surfing.
Star Wars Episode 4. No, yeah. I don't know.
Vader could surf way better than Obi-Wan, so he faked his death.
Yeah. It's almost embarrassing to admit that being one of my favorite movies, but it is.
Hey man, I get it.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It be like it do. It be like it do, Zed.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna tell a quick story. So, I used to have this really big DVD and VHS collection because I didn't have access to the internet, and there for a while I got grounded. So Mom took all my music equipment for well over a year.
Holy shit! I think I remember you telling me about that. The great grounding.
Yeah, I've had 7 or 8 great groundings in this span of 5 years. So what I do is I had these water jugs, and I'd fill them full of water, sit on a beanbag, and watch movies. That's all I did. That's all I could do.
That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Not even cable. I didn't have cable. I had movies.
Yeah, that's sorry, bro.
Yeah, and then like Surf's Up really just spoke to me at that time.
If only you could have listened to ClapTrap.
Yeah, like ClapTrap, we're doing that for those bros. That 0.1% of people that grew up exactly like me. This is why we're doing ClapTrap.
Oh, for people who grew up exactly like you, not for my people.
No, well, the people just like me don't have access to the internet, which explains our 0 viewers.
Shit, that's pretty meta.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, let's see. Psycho. I don't feel like I could say anything on Psycho that's not already been said. But yes, I can.
Right.
So I want to talk about the shower scene a little bit. I know everyone's talked about it.
Isn't the shower scene the most dissected scene in movie history? Like, what can you say about that that's not been said before?
Nudity.
I'm sure that's been brought up, but
it has been. But I want to say what I want to say on it.
Well, then say it.
I will. So, in horror movies, it's commonplace for there to be topless scenes or nude scenes or sex scenes, and the reason
Hell
for that,
yeah, my dude. Fuck, you see it. It's a titty.
So the reason that is, it is supposed to show us that our most vulnerable moments, and moments where we think it's just completely intimate, just dying and getting killed by an invader, like a home invader or somebody you didn't think was there, and that's why it's supposed to be scary.
I mean, isn't it also for shock value and because titties?
Yeah. Now, the reason that was so effective in Psycho is because Alfred Hitchcock shot every scene to where a naked woman in the shower, but you didn't see anything that daytime TV would have to blur out. Like, you saw her naked, you saw her getting killed, you saw her falling to the ground, but you didn't see anything blur-worthy. And so it kept that element of being vulnerable in your most intimate moments, and it succeeded in it because you were not distracted by titty.
Okay, so you're saying it took the sexiness out of it so that it could focus on the
horror.
On the horror of being killed while naked.
Yes.
Okay. I can respect that. Yeah, that's cool. Again, I've not properly watched Psycho. I've really been sleeping on all the classic horror films. On all the classic films, really, but horror's just never been my genre.
Psycho stands up today. The only thing that's aged is the fashion.
I mean, that's to be expected.
But if that's the only thing that's aged,
then
from
yeah,
1960,
that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
I think the horror stuff.
I'm sure I'll give it a watch at one point. We need to just like, I'm telling you, as soon as like I've got like a piece of land, the first thing I'm gonna do is like get like a huge white sheet, or just paint like the side of my house white. And I'm just going to drop a bunch of money on a projector, and we're just going to watch old movies and drink in my backyard.
You might be able to get a decent projector on eBay for a decent price. Decently.
I'll look into it. If you, unless you drop like $500, it's not going to be like worth it.
66, 230.
Those are all weak. I've looked into it before.
Fair
weak.
enough. They're weak.
But anyway, that'll be fun.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just have everybody over for movie night once in a while.
I'm rambling off on my list. What's a movie you really like? Like, what's something that's affected you as a person?
Let's see. Something that affected me as a person.
Yes.
Mostly, I just consume episodic shows. So I'm really slacking on my fucking cinema knowledge because while I like movies, I feel like they're not given the proper time to for me to form an emotional connection with them, like in the way a long running series does. Like I have enough time to become attached to a series that runs for well longer than a movie, and by the time a movie is over, like personally, for who I am, I just haven't had time to like get used to the idea of it, I guess.
Yes.
And That probably says something about me and how I'm fucking slow to form connections, but that's how it be. But I mean, so I mean, it's not to say that movies can't do that. I've already talked about a few that I've seen several times and I really enjoyed. God, I'm trying to think though. Yeah, I'm blanking.
You're blanking?
I'm blanking.
Okay, so think deeply and critically while I talk about the 6 cringe films. The 6 great cringe films. Okay, so we're going to start out with Explorers.
No, here's my master list. The Bee Movie. The Room. The Rugrats movie.
Wait, you've seen The Room?
Jimmy Neutron. No, I haven't seen The Room.
I made it 15 minutes in.
I mean, it's just people watch it for the meme now, right? Like, I know that people aren't there people like seriously into film who like watch The Room as like an art piece. I don't get where they're coming from with that. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't. Judge its merits fully. But I mean, look at it.
The Room has a nasty habit of staying relevant in underground circles. Like, there's still midnight screenings of The Room where people throw plastic spoons at the screen and scream stuff and
plastic
scream that. Yeah, there's like portraits of spoons in that film.
What are you, Tommy Wiseau? What are you?
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, Tommy Wiseau is gonna play Zed Dalen in the adaptation of my book.
Oh my god. Yes, please. Only Tommy Wiseau can effectively portray me as a person.
Or your character, rather, that you've created. For anybody who's not familiar, the character of Zed Dalen that this real-life human who calls himself Zed Dalen has created, I have written into a book. And and in that book, the character of Zed Dalen is currently like 15 or 16. So Tommy Wiseau will be a perfect candidate.
Tommy Wiseau.
How do you do, fellow kids?
I don't even know who could be cast as Zed Dalen. Not me.
I just have to hope there's a perfect young actor floating around by the time something like that comes to pass. Wishful thinking. I don't know who could properly ever do it.
I'll be too old by then to be Zed Dalen. Like,
you could be Andy Hopskank.
I could cameo as Andy. Be like Hunter Thompson cameoing as himself during an acid trip in Fear and Loathing to Las Vegas.
I saw Quentin Tarantino in the credits of Inglourious Basterds. He wrote himself in as a Nazi.
He wrote himself in as a what?
A Nazi.
I could see that. He always
just like one of the dead Nazis from one of the first scenes where the bastards are scalping them. One of them was Tarantino.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's. I've noticed a lot of directors like to briefly cameo. Like Hitchcock would do that. He was known for his cameos.
It's nice when they do it in a way like that, though. That's just like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I was kind of on screen for a second? Like, don't go in there and like self-insert in a cringy way.
Like,
which I honestly can't think of any examples of that. I'm sure they're out there though.
Like, I know Hitchcock would just sort of show up for a second, be reading a newspaper or be on the street corner. Or he was just sort of like there. He just like, I want a second on the screen. I'm gonna be on the screen for a second.
Oh, now, you know who else did that? My favorite director of all time.
Who?
Christian Weston Chandler.
I hate that. Let's talk about him while I look him up. Who is Christian Weston?
You don't know Christian Weston Chandler? Chris Chandler?
No. Oh, no.
Creator of Sonichu? Oh, we don't have to talk about Chris Chan today.
I don't want to talk about Chris Chan ever.
Just worth noting, he wrote himself into the comic. So I thought that was a funny joke. You're welcome. Anyway, what's next on your list?
I don't think I have a favorite director. Like the more I think about it, like I go through phases where I'll watch like certain directors' films, but I don't have a favorite director, and I don't think it comes in as any surprise, but I guess I would have to say it's Tarantino for me. Mm-hmm. I just really like the way he does things. No, dude, that's legit. A lot of people love Tarantino. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if I expanded my film knowledge, I'd find somebody I liked better, but I don't know.
I like Tarantino. Like I said, I haven't seen as many movies as maybe I should have, but I like Tarantino.
I like movies. I watch more movies than I do shows because with shows it's a big dedication and my time is limited on this planet.
It is, and that's why I'm kind of picky, I guess, because like I prefer watching shows. I prefer giving something the proper time, but it's got to be damn worth it.
Like I'll give anything
Game of
about.
Thrones.
No, I
No?
hated Game of Thrones.
You hated Game of Thrones. What the fuck are you talking about?
Fiery Passion. It was a soap opera. It was a soap opera for 15-year-old boys.
No, incorrect.
It was a soap opera.
I mean, there was a lot of fucking like drama.
It was a soap opera. Let's look up the elements of a soap opera.
Oh my god. Okay, you could say it's got soap opera elements, Ed, but that doesn't make it bad. It's about conflict between humans against a fantasy setting.
Very, very indecisive men, know-it-all
That's not
kids,
true.
spice of the supernatural, multiple face close-ups, plot with contractual loopholes.
No. None of that. George R. R. Martin is a great writer, and I think you're being contrarian.
I'm not being contrarian. I watched an
I think
entire
you're being contrarian. I think Game of Thrones is super popular, and I think you don't want to, like, be a part of the mob or something, and you have decided to dislike it to be different.
I watched the entire first season, and I said, this is too much drama. This is just like a soap opera, and I've never liked anything that was just complete, like, social conflict, and social conflict is the central, I guess, plot points of the first season, and I hated that.
Yeah, it is. It's a Game of Thrones. It's people, it's political intrigue and fucking in a fantasy setting. It's when people get together and try to be a government, it's messy, and that's what George R. R. Martin is exploring. Just
Like, what's that?
the breadth of petty human error that would be present.
What's that thing that I said the other day? If the tits is the best part of the anime, then the anime sucks.
The tits wasn't the best part of Game of Thrones. Especially in season 1, some of that tits was weak. I'm in it for the story, though.
Just, if I wanted to listen to people go back and forth and backstab each other, I'd go to Harlan and hang out for 20 minutes. It's just, it was so sucky.
Okay, we're gonna have a pretty big Game of Thrones debate in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to. Because I hated it.
We'll just make a whole episode out of the great Game of Thrones debate. And I think you should give it another chance before we do, and I'll do the same thing.
Like,
the show
were
is
things that I
complimentary to the
liked.
books anyway, though. Have you tried the books?
No.
Try the books for sure.
I mean, yeah, I'll try I have the first one.
What?
I have the first book.
Okay. Read it.
I'll give it a few chapters to see if it catches my interest, but
Chapters.
anything with that much just social conflict bores me. I think there's this element of grow the fuck up.
Well, I mean, obviously, but
like
fucking everybody there is like a developed human. Like humans are like that, and like you have to learn to connect to things like that. I think it's a little close-minded here, man. I think you're being a bit of a close-minded contrarian, and I'm sticking by that.
You can if you want to, but I gave it the entire first season and said this is too soap opera-y for my taste.
All right, well then give it the entire first book because it presents it in less of a soap opera way there.
I know it's unpopular, and it seems like edgy contrarianism to just say you don't like something popular, but that's something I just genuinely disliked.
I mean, I don't know, man. You're a big fantasy guy. The world building in Game of Thrones, a lot of the characters, so much of it later on, oh my god, some of the battle choreography in the later seasons is some of the best, like, medieval battles I've ever seen put on film. And as a fantasy fan, I feel like you're really missing out by not just trying to get into it a little bit more.
I don't want to wait 3 seasons to see something entertaining.
It's, I don't know. Fuck you, is my closing statement.
It is what it is, man. I just don't like it.
It'd be like it too, I guess.
There's things about it I really appreciated.
Okay, why don't you put on your rose-tinted glasses and tell me what you liked about it?
I liked the dragon siblings, though. That was a really cool narrative.
Yeah.
And Sean Bean kicked ass as
He
Sean
did.
Bean. Sean Bean just kicks ass in anything he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Always a mild fan of that man. The story of his children, was really good, but It's just, if the entire show, it's like there's so many twists and turns that it's no longer surprising. It's like, oh, take a shot every time something happens you didn't expect, and it's. I just didn't like
Is
it.
that a bad thing? Are you saying narratives should be like easily readable? That makes a better narrative if you can tell what's going to happen.
Not necessarily, but I feel like Game of Thrones overdid it.
You think it was trying too hard to subvert your expectations?
I think it was it try hard. It was very try hard with its social conflict. Like, I think there should be a good balance of social conflict, and at the same time, being an idiot, I also kind of want to see just cool fantasy shit at the same time. You know?
There's
Like,
so much of that in Game of Thrones, though.
like-
Season 1, I would say, is definitely the most soap opera of everything. And, it's Season 2, first episode of Season 2, that's when the war starts. And there's a lot more just fantasy and fighting. And people are still petty because humans are petty. But, that results in a whole lot more killing and magic after Season 1.
No, I don't know. Like, I feel like there should be a balance. And the fact that I have to sit through an entire season to get to the good shit.
I mean, I enjoyed Season 1. I did. I could see why you wouldn't enjoy it as much, but there was still fantasy. And you didn't like any of the characters? You didn't attach to any of the characters?
I didn't find myself getting attached to any characters, really.
Not even Tyrion?
He was entertaining.
Dude, Tyrion
Which
is
is
so multifaceted. Tyrion is by far my favorite character in Game of Thrones.
Like, he was
And
entertaining.
I guess you
and-
don't learn enough about him at the onset, but that's the way it goes for every character. Like, there are a whole bunch of very interesting characters in Game of Thrones, and I guess you just see more and more of who they are unfold as you go on. Maybe by the end of Season 1 they didn't reveal enough to hook you, but there's a lot going on there, and it's good shit.
It's just classic soap opera in my eyes.
Well, then
Sort of
read the
that-
book. Like, if you don't like fucking conflict between people, you don't like stories.
It's consistent conflict every 20 minutes. It's like, oh no, somebody lied. Oh no, somebody's got stabbed in the back.
So you
Oh
want
no,
more
somebody
fluff?
died. But if that's your
You
plot
want
points,
all your
every,
stories to be filled with feel good fluff and fan service. Is that what I'm
no. What I'm saying is, with Game of Thrones, it's every plot point was that. There was nothing else.
I disagree. I think there was a lot of bonding between people who liked each other and plenty of world building.
Yeah, I guess they liked each other for 20 minutes until somebody got stabbed in the back again and died.
Here's what I think happened.
So bad.
I think your criticisms are valid, but I think you focused too strongly on the negatives for some reason. I think you probably were in a bad mood when you tried this show out, and you let that reflect on your experience.
I was excited to watch it, though. Like, I was super excited to sit down and binge it.
Then I don't know. Maybe you got your expectations too high and became cynical about it. I really
can't
think
you
you're
accept
just
that I
giving this a
didn't
harder
like it?
time than it deserves, and I don't know.
I just straight up didn't like it.
Well, I guess there's nothing left to say about it then.
Yeah.
So what are we at? Hour and a half?
Yeah, we're at an hour and a half. I'm
Spent
trying
too
to.
much time talking about a TV show on the movie episode.
That's okay. We're talking about cinema.
That's
Still.
fair. Yeah.
Like, if we're going to talk about
hour
deviations in
long
episodes,
episodes, you could call them movies.
yeah. Like, compared to our normal deviations, this has been pretty good.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent. So, anything else left on your list, buddy?
Let's see. Explorers, The Last Starfighter, The Flight of the Navigator, My Favorite Martian, Rocket Man, and Space Invaders.
Isn't My Favorite Martian kind of stupid? That's the only
They're-
one of those I recognized.
They're all really stupid and family friendly. The only ones that I can actively recommend is Explorers.
Okay.
Explorers was essentially like the Goonies.
I
They
liked the Goonies. The Goonies. I forgot about that one.
so like this computer geek, and I think it was like the 80s or 90s, intercepted a transmission from space, and they got some sort of like alien technology, and it's a product of its time. And they figured out how to create a perfect force field that they could move
Okay.
along an X, Y, Z axis. And they built a rocket ship in a junkyard and welded it together and put the rocket ship inside of the force field and manipulated that force field through the XYZ axis and used it to fly through space. And they went and met with the aliens who sent that transmission. To a child, like to an adult, you can criticize it all day, but to a child, that was really cool and entertaining.
That
So
sounds cool. I could see being as a kid and maybe not have explored a lot of abstract concepts, how that would like awaken that in you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Yes. See, The Last Starfighter, this kid plays an arcade game, was really good at it, and he like high scored or some shit. And then the galactic government picks him up and says, "You're a starfighter now." And then he just wins the war and the movie ends. It's kind of
He's been
shit.
drafted.
Yeah. See,
That's
Flight of the
scary.
It's a lot of these are cringy. The
Yeah.
Flight of the Navigator, this little kid gets picked up by aliens, becomes a navigator, and then shows up like 10 years in the future and hasn't aged any.
Mhm.
My favorite Martian, I have nothing good to say about. Rocket Man. Let's talk about Rocket Man.
It's on your list, but you've got nothing good to say about it.
I want to mention it because it was a significant part of my childhood, but it's just I have nothing good to say about it as an adult.
That's fair. That's
But
perfectly fair.
Let's talk about Rocket Man.
I haven't seen Rocket Man.
It's Canadian Disney.
Okay. Next movie.
So Rocket Man is about the first Mars mission, and it's this computer scientist who gets drafted, and he's like
Another drafting.
who gets drafted into NASA because
Okay.
he's the only one who knows how to.
Can you get drafted into NASA?
He's the only one who knows how to work his program.
Okay.
Like, who better to operate his program than him? Like, even his program worked for the Mars mission, but even the computer specialist was struggling with it. So he became a candidate for the Mars mission after the computer specialist got himself hurt.
Okay.
Like, it's a slapstick. It's a situation comedy. That's, I guess you could describe it with the full phrase situation comedy. Like, he's just a social idiot, but a computer genius. Like, he did a recreation of,
Oh, I
what's-
love the Big Bang Theory.
like, what's the this is the 90s, man. Like,
Yeah.
what the creation of Adam. He did a complete recreation of the creation of Adam out of like
The fuck?
space food on the ceiling because he was awake for 3 months because he couldn't get because the monkey
the
took
painting.
his.
I thought you meant
Yeah.
I thought you meant he programmed the code for like Adam being created by God. I don't know. I was really confused for a second there.
And then because like the monkey took his hypersleep chamber.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wacky movie.
So this is just like a wacky Canadian autistic astronaut.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
fucking. All right, 10 out of 10, baby.
And finally, on the list of sci-fi movies that I burned the VHS up on is Space Invaders, which I think I mentioned earlier in the podcast.
I feel like you said something about it.
It's bad. I
yeah,
tried
yeah.
to. I couldn't remember much
sounds
about it.
Space Invaders. I'm sure it sounds like it's a stoner movie.
It came out in 1990, and I tried to rewatch it on YouTube earlier, and I couldn't get through it. So basically, these Martians, they're going through and waging war on different systems. And
Okay.
one night on Halloween, the town decided to play the classic War of the Worlds radio broadcast that freaked everybody out. And the Martians picked up on that, and they're like, well, shit, they hit Earth next. Let's go join them. And there's a bunch of like conflicts going on in this small backwoods town of like an insurance or a loan company's trying to take all this farmland to build whatever.
Okay.
And like, and like, you know, the aliens meet a kid and they're like, hey, fucking humans are cool and we can learn a lot from each other. And the way the movie ends
I
is,
love E.T.
the way the movie ends is they escape the pitchforks, they leave, and on their way out, they flushed their waste out of the spaceship, and it caused the crops to grow to astronomical sizes, and they were able to pay their loans back. I'm physically blushing right now because I liked this as a child.
Yeah, you should definitely feel ashamed of yourself. And now everyone will know. All 3.5 people who watch this are gonna know how stupid you are.
I feel like they should know I'm a bit goofy based off just me speaking.
Just context, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an image in the Discord of what these aliens looked like.
Okay.
Like, they were like cool guys, you know.
Oh God! Look at him in his bomber jacket.
His
Oh
aviators.
boy. Oh.
Oh God,
Oh,
here's
the guy from Top Gun did not age well.
Oh God, here's a picture of the VHS.
Disgusting.
I think I got
Anyway.
my.
Do you want to say anything about a movie people would give a shit about?
That's all. I've mentioned every movie that has affected me growing up to this point in some
Okay.
way.
Oh, there was one I mentioned in episode 7 when Cedric was with us. That I had watched recently, The Truman Show.
Oh yeah, I've not seen
I
it.
really liked The Truman Show. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, like it looks like the kind of thing that would change my life. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Do you know any spoilers for it?
No,
Okay,
I do not.
You don't know like what the synopsis is at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, definitely watch it blind then, because Bailey I kind of already knew a little bit, but I didn't, have a clear picture. And we started to watch it, and the camera was setting up for like something that you're supposed to figure out later. And Bailey was sitting right there, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's because this." And like I already had an idea, but I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." Like, why would you just give me the twist like that?
That's
To be fair, I
depressing.
think it says it in the movie summary, and it becomes clear kind of early on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like just knowing that and like watching how the scenes and all the shots give you a little bit of information, I was like, oh man, it sure would have been fun to put that together myself.
Yeah, that would have been. So I'm gonna have to go into it blind because
Yeah, like don't even like I think it's on Netflix.
it is.
Click on it and just don't even look at the description.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's one film I'm looking for it right now. It's a Will Ferrell film where he's a character in a book, and everything the author writes, Stranger Than Fiction, 2006. And everything
about that.
Yeah, and everything the author writes happens to him, and it's a wacky little comedy with sort of a. I remember liking it, but looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that sucked. It's a wacky little comedy that, he eventually has a love interest and stuff, and
Yeah.
does Will Ferrell things, but I think you would enjoy the film.
I like Will Ferrell films for like, just something, it's just funny. It's not anything to think too much about. It's just funny and wacky.
It's like it's a
but
good,
in a way that's not like cringy, I guess.
yeah, like it's like that. There's some wacky things in it,
Yeah.
but like
Like I'll still watch Step Brothers every few months.
I've seen it once, and that was enough for me.
You didn't like it?
Uh-uh.
Huh. Well, fuck you.
I mean, I like some Will Ferrell movies, like Stranger Than Fiction, Lego Movie, Elf, of course.
Elf was all right. It was, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That one was kind of just like, to me, like,
Really, you didn't like it?
I don't know. It's like, I get the joke. He's an elf, but he's big, and people in the real world don't understand. Haha. Let's move on.
I really liked it.
I mean, that's fair. I enjoyed it as a kid, but, I don't think I would like it as much if I watched it now.
I'm gonna watch it this Christmas just to see.
Okay.
But yeah, like he's cool.
Yeah.
But I think you'd like Stranger. Like one scene that really sets out to me comedy wise, like he was trying to court a woman. I think she was a baker or wanted to be a baker, and as a way to say I know you, he got a big tub of not a tub but a big crate of like self-rising flour or white lily, baking flour.
Yeah.
Just an assortment of them. Brought it to her and were like, "Hey, I got you flowers." And
What a smooth operator. Cool.
yeah, so like that's that kind of humor. It's just
Yeah.
it's goofy.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
I
I think you'd like it.
You like Tim Burton movies?
Yes, I like
Yeah.
Tim Burton films. I like his animation a lot better than his live action.
Yeah. I agree.
Like Corpse Bride. I loved Frank and like nobody talked about Frank and Winnie when it came out, but I really loved it.
I didn't watch Frank and Weenie.
Like I'm a big horror movie nerd, and it had a lot of references to old horror
Oh
movies.
yeah, it was definitely just like a parody of like old school scary movies, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole thing was even in black and white, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, as a big geek of that, I really loved everything about it. But it's just weird to me. Like white, I think black and white turned a lot of people off, but I just liked it. You know, I thought it was good.
Yeah, fair
It was
enough.
a good fucking film.
Corpse Bride didn't really like reel me in. It was interesting, but like I don't know, there just wasn't enough there for me to like to care about, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I enjoyed it, but like I probably, I don't really have a desire to watch it again. Whereas The Nightmare Before Christmas, I feel like I could watch that. I think I do watch it like twice a year. I watch it at Halloween and then I watch it again at Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's just our generation. We love that film.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
It's got a lot of like cliche trappings. It is just like a movie,
Mhm.
There's nothing spectacularly cool going on with it narratively.
Yeah,
It's just quirky, it's artful, and it's ambient, I guess. It's a good thing to put on at a holiday because it puts you in that mindset.
Yes. I feel like it only worked because it was animated. Like if that particular story was live action, I feel like the film
God.
would have failed. Because the
You're
story is
probably
pretty.
right.
The story was pretty white bread, honestly.
Yeah.
See, like, I'm looking at other Tim Burton
I
films.
mean, it was all
Beetlejuice
about the quirkiness, right? And
Mhm.
the claymation is so quirky.
Yes.
Like everything about that movie was crafted to be perfectly quirky, without being like too overbearing, I think.
Yeah. See, Sleepy Hollow. That's one I have to rewatch. That was good. Dark
haven't seen it.
Shadows, Ed Wood, Mars Attacks is campy goodness. The Batman films. Fucking loved
I
his
forgot.
Batmans.
Have
Have you seen his Batmans?
I haven't really. No, I saw him like on TV in the background once, but didn't really sit down to watch them.
They're products of their time,
Nipples.
but those aren't his.
Oh no, that's the
No.
other ones. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he did Jack Nicholson's Joker and Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
if you were to choose
haven't
one,
seen those, but Jack Nicholson looks like a good Joker.
like, have you ever seen Danny DeVito's Penguin?
I think so.
So
Yeah.
those two films are the two films. I don't want to give full credit to it, but those are the two films that said superhero movies can be good. And then
Fair enough.
the two cringy Batmans came on after
Uh-huh.
Burton did his Batman. So it kind of lost its merit, but I highly
Tim
recommend
Burton said
watching those.
superhero movies could be good, and then the Avengers said "fuck you."
And then of
Oh my
course,
god, this is
aesthetic-
the movie episode, Zed. Do you want to complain about the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I did that yesterday.
I mean, well then, it's fresh in your mind.
Okay, so with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's so damn meta. And I'm going to be using the word meta a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the dictionary definition of meta. Because I feel like the word gets thrown around improperly.
It's got a couple of different meanings.
Given that I used to play a lot of online games, meta, to me, is most effective strategy available.
Yeah.
And that's how I use it. And every-
the other definition for like for clarification's sake is like kind of like fourth wall breaking, right?
Referring to itself or to the
Yeah.
conversations of its genre or self-referential.
Yeah, self-referential.
Okay, so it feels like everything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been tested in front of a live audience before release. Like every little thing has been, well, what's that called? When you get a sample of people together and let them give their opinions on something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like
testing,
product-
I guess.
Yeah, there's a word for it. But it feels like that's happened to every little thing. It's like, we know love stories work this way. We know the action works this way. We know the hero's journey is refined this way.
When you use meta in that context, yeah, it's definitely built on meta.
Mm-hmm.
It is copy pasted storytelling.
Yeah, like everything. You know the hero's gonna develop himself. He's gonna have conflict. The villain is gonna be relatable, but not. You can understand the villain, but the movies don't let you empathize with the villain long enough for it to be a good villain, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
And then it feels like the process has become so refined that they can copy and paste it onto anything and it work.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there's an argument to be made that, of course, all narratives follow a similar structure, and that is just what humans have figured out makes a proper narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely feel that with Marvel movies, some of them are honestly not bad to watch. Some Marvel movies I can go watch and just like enjoy that narrative.
Guardians of the Galaxy for me.
Guardians of the Galaxy is not bad. I think Deadpool is just Deadpool doesn't even get mixed in with this too much.
No, Deadpool.
He exists outside of this problem
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But I feel like with a lot of Marvel movies, there is a certain soullessness.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's just a bunch of guys in a boardroom, fucking. And I know there are artistic people working on this. They're just all fucking. I don't know, man.
I have a story.
Tell your story.
So at the end of fact check this. Please, listeners, fact check this. So at the end of Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi, Harrison Ford walked up to George Lucas and said, "Hey, I think the story would be best if Han Solo died at the end of this movie." And George Lucas looked at Harrison Ford and said, "A dead Han Solo doesn't sell Han Solo toys."
Holy shit.
And I think that is the entire mindset behind the MCU.
You're fully right, because I think I was trying to explain this to somebody at work the other day. So spoilers. Fuck. You know what? I don't even care about if you get a spoiler warning for fucking Marvel movies. Spider-Man.
The good guy wins.
Spider-Man died in fucking Infinity War recently, right?
Yes, he got ripped apart.
But I think fucking didn't Marvel release a calendar for movies they're going to be making in the next few years and what fucking month they would be coming out?
Yeah, and
wasn't there Spider-Man movies on that list in the current universe?
Yeah, there's sequels.
A dead Spider-Man doesn't sell Spider-Man toys, so he's going to be back in a minute. And because dead characters don't sell character toys, fucking they don't risk the characters that are likable. There is no death doesn't mean anything. There is never any actual danger, and how am I supposed to care when how am I supposed to become engaged with the world when I can see the path it's going to take? Mm-hmm. When I know who's going to be there at the end of the road.
I hate to segue this back, but to me, the MCU is the radical opposite of Game of Thrones Season 1.
Yes, I agree. I think I made the comparison when I was talking to the guy at work who is a Marvel fan, which if you are a Marvel fan, there's plenty of things to like about Marvel, but there are distinct problems which should be addressed.
I think.
But Game of Thrones is very good at you said it was try-harding to subvert your expectations, but I think that's better than fucking what Marvel's doing by a long shot.
I think it's if we had if we had a coin and on each side was a radical something, it would be Game of Thrones on one side and the MCU on the other. Yeah. Flip a coin to watch what radical bullshit is coming up, and it's either radical good guy wins or radical, oh, I didn't see that happening. And
yeah,
I want the MCU to end so badly because it's been going on for 10 years.
I would have to fucking just tip my hat a little bit if Thanos wins.
I want him to. I'm fucking rooting for him at this point,
I honestly am too. That would be super awesome.
Hell.
Just to fucking what if they've been planning it all along and they're gonna throw us for a big curveball at the end? Oh my god.
They didn't even kill off the fucking Nazi from Captain America. Red Skull shows back up in Avengers.
Did he?
Yeah.
I thought he died.
No, he fucking shows back up on the top of a mountain guarding one of the Infinity Stones.
Why? Why would this old Nazi be guarding an infinity? I don't know enough about the lore, and I don't really care to, but that just seems like a total contrivance. Like everything else.
Because magic.
Because magic. Yeah, there's a lot of contrivances going on, which are... I mean, the whole conceit of the Avengers is, oh, look, these guys who didn't exist in the same universe before are hanging out together. And, you know, a lot of contrivances were necessary to bring them together in that way. But has that novelty not long since run its course?
It has. It's burned itself out. Like, starting with the first Iron Man, and I liked the way the first Iron Man ended because it was just big robot fight. You know, it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just pushed itself and pushed itself and pushed it. And I honestly thought it was all pushing itself to the first Avengers. And then I feel like after that, it started burning out. Because, like, that's what we were all waiting and building up to was Loki. And then it's like, oh, Thanos was controlling Loki. So now we're all building up to Thanos. And
Thanos was controlling Loki? Is that really canon?
yeah, like, you know, all those things Loki summoned and shit.
Yeah.
Those Thanos' boys.
What the fuck?
The shit Thanos uses to take over a world or something like that.
Is that why Loki's a good guy now? He was just actually brainwashed, and his whole narrative arc in Thor didn't exist?
No, like, brainwashed, controlled isn't the word I'm looking for. Struck a deal with. That's what I'm looking for. He struck a deal with him. But, hell, Loki's a better
That was not
fucking...
hinted at all. What the fuck?
No. It was talked about in the later film. It was talked about in Avengers. Hell, Loki's a better final boss than Thanos could ever be. At least he's interesting.
Yeah.
And
Thanos
conflicted.
is interesting in his, like, one goal, but it's like...
There were titties in that film, Trent.
Like, why is he doing it? Like, his ideals could be, like, considered sympathetic, but what is his motivation for...
He
like,
watched his
putting
planet
such
die.
ideals in... Do what?
He watched his planet die. You've not seen
Oh,
Avengers,
is that-
have you?
I've seen the first Avengers movie. And
Okay,
since
so-
then, I pretty much know the major plot points from existing in America.
So, with Thanos, the resources on his planet were wearing thin, and Thanos said, kill off half the population. They said, no, we can't do that. That's unethical. And then the planet dies. And Thanos goes,
so
I need
there
to save
was
the
a-
universe.
There was a consistent through line with that. Okay, so that's defensible, and I can respect it.
So he watched his entire world die, and that's why he goes from planet to planet, killing off half of everybody, and starts going after the stones to kill off 0.5 universe. So,
Fair enough. But what were we saying before that?
I don't know.
Awesome.
Don't know. Not a very good podcaster.
We are approaching the 2-hour mark, so maybe we're slowing down a little bit here. But
It'd be
so
alright.
yeah, the MCU is built on contrivances. The novelty of seeing characters that weren't supposed to be together crossover. Like, this is no longer a crossover by any means. It has just become its own self-contained universe, which is just a shitty clusterfuck now.
Which is why I dread them getting... That's why I hated when Disney bought Fox, because I've always loved the X-Men movies, because, like, as the MCU becomes more and more oversaturated and more bullshitty and more meta, I could turn to the next X-Men film and expect someone to die for good. I could expect there to be tragedy. I could expect
I
it
think
not
that's
to bullshit.
why I do like the X-Men films better, because it was able to stay removed from that. But you said Disney bought Fox, and
They have...
do they have they said they have intentions to tie the X-Men back into the MCU?
I don't know for sure, but everybody's super hyped that they're coming home, quote unquote.
Coming home.
Fox is finishing off the first class narrative with the Dark Phoenix movie, and it looks really fucking good. So if that's the last X-Men movie, what I consider to be the last X-Men movie, then I'll be at peace with it, because it'll be a finished story to me.
Okay.
And then anything Disney does that has X-Men on it, I'll never watch.
Well, there's one thing, and this means there can be more X-Men and Deadpool now, right?
Oh no, Fox did Deadpool. They just couldn't afford a lot of shit.
Oh, is that right? Wait.
Yeah, because Deadpool
If
made a
Fox
joke
owns
about
X-Men
it.
and Fox did Deadpool, then why was it like a big joke that they couldn't get the X-Men in Deadpool?
Money, I think it was.
But wait,
He made it-
wait, that doesn't make any sense though, because you said Fox owns X-Men and Fox owns Deadpool, so they wouldn't have to, couldn't afford to pay themselves because they own those characters.
Might have been paid the actors or something. I don't fucking know.
No,
I
it was
don't-
something about paying the studio for rights to have the characters in the film, so it wasn't the
It
same
might have
studio.
been.
I thought
What?
Disney Marvel made Deadpool.
Fuck no, they would not have. There were titties in that film, Trent.
Well, whatever. I'm gonna have to look into that because that doesn't add up.
I'm looking into it too. Let's see. What studio published Deadpool? Stop giving me comic book facts. Deadpool 2, fuck it. Start talking so I'm not Googling things.
You're the one who Googles things. I said I'm gonna
I
look
do.
into it. I didn't mean right now.
I'm
Because I'm a
dying of
professional. I'm
curiosity.
gonna look into it afterwards. Fucking, you're ruining our show, Zed. You're ruining it.
I don't
Put
want to
so much time and effort into this, and you're making it. Fuck you.
I don't want to spread misinformation.
Well, then just talk about something else.
That's fair. That's fair. So, yeah, like just Dark Phoenix will probably be the last X-Men movie because they're gonna be fucking pussies about a really dark world of death and loss and just
Yeah.
it pisses me off.
Yeah.
It just pisses me the fuck off.
Logan was pretty good.
No, Logan was a masterpiece in my eyes.
I wouldn't say masterpiece, but I would say very solid movie.
Mm-hmm. I felt like it was a good way to end the character.
It was.
Or that
And,
interpretation of the character.
And yeah, I think I talked about this at one point, but like somebody told me that in like Wolverine is actually supposed to come back from that. Maybe
Fuck no, he's not. Those people
somebody
like
told me
the-
that happens in the comic book.
Oh well, that happened. Yeah. In the comic book, he does come back because popularity keeps Wolverine alive. But as far as
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman basically said, I wanted to send the character off right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think it was a good ending, but because there is that comic book source material where it's like actually Wolverine just was asleep underground for 20 years to heal himself or something. There is a danger of them literally, quite literally, digging up Wolverine's corpse for money.
I know. I
And
don't
that,
think
that terrifies me.
I think Hugh Jackman's going to be what keeps that from happening, though.
Yeah. Oh god, it'll be even worse if they do that and cast somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else can be movie Wolverine but Hugh Jackman.
My dad disagrees, and I want to talk about some of the points he has because they're quite good.
Okay.
He said my dad grew up on 80s X-Men, which in my eyes is the magnum opus of X-Men comic collection.
Okay.
And he grew up on like the Fox Kids X-Men cartoon, which was fucking phenomenal if you've never
Mhm.
seen it.
I've seen
And
bits and pieces.
Wolverine in that, he wasn't a talker, he wasn't this, he wasn't that, he was, let's just get to fighting. You know, he was more animalistic. He's 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
He's more violent,
Well,
more beastie.
Isn't
more,
that the same in Hugh Jackman's not terribly tall, is he?
Well, he's not 5 foot tall though.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, like Hugh Jackman's version of Wolverine is watered down compared to the original comic version of Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like the PG-13 version of a very R-rated thing.
So, is this going somewhere? Like, who's your dad's pick for Wolverine?
Oh, he doesn't. He just said he just never liked Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Oh.
He said the character wasn't violent enough. He wasn't as...
Hashtag not my Wolverine.
Yeah, he was just not a very violent badass, and that's just his thoughts on it. And I feel like I respect his thoughts
I mean, I
on
could
it
see where
enough
you
to-
could say he could be more of a violent badass, but he was still those things, but if
just-
just not to the degree you wanted, I could get that.
Mhm. Yeah, I've only read so many X-Men comics, but from what I remember, Wolverine was the guy you just dropped in. He cut everybody into a million pieces and sat there raging, like punching the corpse, you know.
Same.
he just didn't have a lot of character development to him that much. He was just more calling him a character is almost, he was more of a dog they kept on a leash and let him loose, you know, almost.
Well, that's how the X-Men movies kind of. Yeah, I get that. But
Sort of like
I think the
Maverick.
X-Men movies were like, I want to take, like, because that's interesting. Obviously, there's something going on there, right? So I think Fox was like, hey, let's explore Logan as a person,
Mhm.
and I don't think that was a bad thing. I think that
Oh,
was
I
a
don't-
good thing to do.
Oh, in my eyes, Wolverine won't be. It'll be hard to recreate Wolverine successfully because Hugh Jackman did such a good job, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I think
think-
he was perfect.
I think we'll be in our 30s or 40s before somebody does it successfully again.
By the time we're in our 30s or 40s, I want them to stop fucking making superhero movies. I know they won't. They'll keep doing this for 200 more fucking years, and I just want it to be over.
Yeah, like I remember a time when a superhero movie was a treat,
Yeah.
and
And
now
now it's like fucking get it out of my face. I want to see like a movie about Joe Schmo in Chicago, you know?
yeah, I could go for a boring narrative, like, or just something avant-garde, even something something that takes a risk.
Yeah.
Like, there's
something
some-
that isn't so magnanimously huge that it doesn't mean anything. You know?
Yeah, like
The
it
whole
do-
universe doesn't have to blow up for something to carry narrative weight.
Yeah, like at the end of every Marvel movie, there's some sort of extravagant cinematic fight scene.
Oh, at the
Like-
beginning of every Marvel movie, there's some kind of extravagant show-offy thing that's like, look how big these characters are cardboard, but look how big and shiny. We paid a lot of money for this CGI. Like,
And you know it gets on
it
my
just
nerves.
doesn't mean anything to me.
Like,
What grinds your gears, Ed?
you know what grinds my gear? What's that director that does Transformers?
Michael Bay.
You could have told me Michael Bay did the MCU and I would have believed you. And they turn around and give him shit for doing what he does. Because they feel like the Transformers movies and the Marvel movies feel very similar.
You know what? You got something. Do Marvel fans shit on Michael Bay?
Oh, everyone shits on Michael Bay.
Well, yeah, but
I respect him.
I couldn't see Marvel fans doing it because he does the same like spectacle shit that Marvel movies do. You're right.
Yeah.
I
Like-
would never have imagined that Marvel fans would go after Michael Bay.
Like, I respect Michael Bay because he makes action movies for children. Like, family-friendly action movies. I think...
Yeah, like I enjoyed Transformers as a kid.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's meant for
I
children
think people
to me.
shit on his like like he does like rely on fucking spectacle to like make up for a weak narrative. But again, Marvel does that, makes it, relies on spectacle to make up for weak narrative and weak characters, which people can be like, oh, actually Marvel characters are deep because this, and it's like, well, that's the answer that was prepared for you. That was they make one small subversion to a character because they read in a textbook what would make a character like that a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
And they're like, if we add this one like juxtaposition to their character, archetype, then that makes them deep. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make them multifaceted. It makes, if anything, it makes them tropier.
Yes.
But yeah, Michael Bay is doing that same thing. I think people really shit on Michael Bay for the explosions. They say he uses too many explosions to distract you or whatever. It's just like, oh, but an explosion, and I'm like, whatever.
Like,
Robots throw robots at each other. Things are probably gonna explode.
yeah, like, the Transformers movies
I
are
liked
made for
seeing
kids.
things
and-
explode when I was a kid. It didn't really like affect my life in any solid way, but like neither is Marvel. So like, stop being an asshole.
Yeah. And he's made some movies that are beloved. Michael Bay has, like, Pearl Harbor, Armageddon,
Yeah,
the Amityville...
Amityville Horror.
Yes, he produced
Amityville.
that. Like, the Friday 13th remake. I liked it. A lot of fans didn't like it, but I liked it. Yeah, just, he's done some good shit, and people get, like, the Purge movies are popular.
I've never got around to watching the Purge movies.
I can't bring myself to.
I like the idea of it, but It seems like it's become too much of a thing now. Like, how many fucking Purge movies are there?
I think cinematic universes are becoming a thing, and
They are. I think. Yeah, I was about to say the Purge movies like suffer from the same like problem that Marvel did, which is like, I don't know, people liked it, so they were like, we could do it again every year, and people will keep liking it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know.
I gotta shoot a hateful look at horror movies for doing that first.
Yeah.
Franchising the shit out
explain.
of scary movies.
Oh, just with too many sequels and
Sequelitis, yeah. Because, like, there's
sequelitis. That's not what that.
Huh? That's not what that is?
Sequelitis.
Yeah.
Right.
You've never heard
So-
that before?
Yeah, that's a YouTube series by Ego Raptor.
I hear that word thrown around a lot in the horror community.
Huh. I've heard it more in the video game sphere. Ego Raptor did a series of videos on it back in the day.
But, like, I think there's like 12 Friday the 13ths. They're still coming out with the new Halloween movies, which I'm fucking hyped for the new one.
It looks alright, but I don't even have the context of the original. Like I said, I've slept on the classic horror for a long time.
I'll make you a master list of, like,
I mean, I
slasher-
already have the list, obviously, by talking to humans who are like, oh, you haven't seen such and such? You gotta see it. So I've got a list. It's just, I don't have time. Like, you know, it's like one day I'll sit down, but like fucking, I don't want to feel like I have to.
The two horror movies that I recommend for everybody is Psycho, because it still holds up today.
Like,
And
yeah,
it's-
you mentioned that one earlier.
And as cliche as it is, The Exorcist, I was a grown-ass man before I watched The Exorcist for the first time, and it still left me laying there thinking, damn, that was fucked up. That was an unsettling film. What the fuck, you know?
I've heard The Omen is really good.
Ooh, have I seen The Omen? Is that
That's the one with the little kid who's the Antichrist.
I might have... See, I saw a movie like that. Yeah, I saw the 76 version.
Okay.
And it was really good. It wasn't The Exorcist
Isn't the
good.
original older than that?
1976, and there was one that came out in the 2000s.
Huh. I thought The Omen was in black and white. Maybe it was just in black and white because that's spooky. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's the 76 one, and there's the one that came out on the date 666, because I remember that being a big spectacle.
Spooky.
Yeah. I've not seen the remake, but I remember the original was... It was good,
Yeah.
but it wasn't The Exorcist good. You know? But then again, comparing
Yeah.
any horror movie to The Exorcist is very...
I mean, I don't know. The Exorcist, I haven't seen it, but it just looks cheesy.
Okay, so I'm about to venture into X-rated territory.
X-rated territory?
Yeah, there's this scene in The Exorcist where one of the maids put a cross under her pillow when she was, like, starting to get really bad. And she, this, like, 11-year-old girl starts fucking herself with the cross. Her mom comes in and she was, like...
Oh, I feel...
She was, like,
I
stabbing
felt like
herself with
a
the
dirty
cross.
cloud wash over me when you said that.
And then, like, grabbed her mom's head and stuck it down there.
The fuck, man.
So, yes, The Exorcist is one of the most unsettling films I've ever watched in my entire life.
Okay. I thought it was cheesy. My bad.
Yeah, that movie. It's the special effects have aged a little bit, but as far like you know.
Yeah, I feel very uncomfortable just from hearing you say that really quick.
Yeah, so like, it's notorious for a reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put that on my list.
Yeah, that's. Like I feel. Sorry.
That's you. That's what you sound like.
I just.
Apologies to the listener. Headphone warning. Too late.
Yeah. I'll have to turn that down.
840.
What, did I
What do you
put
mean?
840? 215. How did I get 840
How
from
did you get 840?
Because 840
the
is what
fuck?
time it is.
You just put...
I'm
Oh,
a
that's
fucking-
beautiful.
I'm an idiot.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it 8:40?
Yep.
Oh yeah, because we started recording late.
Yes.
Fuck you, Zed.
Uh,
I had things to do this evening, you cocksucker.
I do too. Do you want to wrap it up with Your Mother Sucks Cocks in Hell, The Exorcist?
Oh, that's what that line's from.
Ooh, let's watch The Exorcist. Like
You know, I was thinking about this, and while I was, thinking about movies to get ready for this episode, I was like, I would love to do like a watch-along commentary ClapTrap series, but I know we would never get revenue from it on the internet.
Yeah.
We would just get our channel taken down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
How does Mystery Science Theater exist?
Those movies are so old and so they're like C movies.
I didn't even know there was a level below B movie.
Yeah.
Is C movie a technically real term?
No.
Okay. Well, cool.
I guess, Trent, how about we wrap this up and you choose next week's topic?
Okay, so I've been choosing like broad, simple, like normie topics.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna stop doing that. Like,
Yeah, they aren't even topics; they're just random nouns.
yeah. So I'm gonna pick something that's still kind of broad, but is something we could probably talk about for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We might end up repeating something we said in another podcast, but that's fine. Because I think
Excuse me.
personally I could explore this pretty in depth. You not so much. So my topic for next week is anime.
Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's watch. Let's anime it up.
Let's hashtag Nihon Senpai
I think
Sugoi Desune.
my anime list is a lot shorter than yours, and I think I've mentioned every except a couple that I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I enjoyed.
Oh, dude, everybody's got guilty pleasures when it comes to anime.
Mhm.
That's just don't even feel bad about it. Just say it. I'm sure I've got worse than you.
Fair enough. So, I guess with that, I gotta take us out. I gotta land this helicopter.
You're gonna fuck it up. I'm calling it
I'm
now.
gonna-
You fucked up the intro. You're gonna fuck up the outro too.
That intro was amazing.
That intro was bullshit. It was a good story, but like, it was fucking weird to start us off with.
I have vision. So,
Your vision is retarded.
okay. Fucking Your Mother Sucks Cocks in Hell.